Hello guys, welcome back to the course. In this video we will be discussing the right settings for different scenarios. There are, if you want to create a perfect photo, you need to choose proper settings for different scenarios. You need different modes and settings for different location and time to capture a suitable photo. Let's start by seeing some of the common scenarios. First of all is the low light. You can say low light is the time during the evening or the night. During that time, the light intensity is very low, so you need the settings such that it allows more light to enter. Use a high ISO to capture more light, but be aware that this may increase the noise in your image. Choose a wide aperture to let in more light, but be mindful of your depth of the field. Use a slow shutter speed to allow more light into your camera, but beware of the camera shake and motion blur. Try using a slow sync flash or a low power continuous light to add more illumination to your subject and reduce harsh shadows. Use a noise reduction feature in post-processing to reduce the appearance of noise. So you can use high ISO, a wide aperture, and a slower shutter speed to capture photos in the low light, but you have to be beware of these consequences. Like if you use a high ISO, there are more chances that noise may appear in your image. If you use a wide aperture, then you should know the depth of your field. And using a slow shutter speed is good, but you should be beware of the camera shake and motion blur. So using a while using a slow shutter speed, you need to stable your camera. The next scenario is the landscape mode. To capture the beauty of great outdoors, use a wide angle lens like a boss. Use a small aperture to create a depth of field and get everything in focus for foreground to background. Use a low ISO to reduce noise and capture more details. Consider using a tripod or other stabilizing device to keep your camera steady. Now, landscape images are mainly of the beautiful scenarios of the nature. So we don't want anything specific to be focused. So we use the small aperture and we create a deep depth of field. And we will use a low ISO as there is already much natural light. And to stabilize our camera, we can use a tripod. The next scenario is a portrait mode. Use a wide aperture to blur the background and create a shallow depth of the field. As you know, the portrait photo consists of focusing on on the main object and the background is blurred. So for that type of photo, we use a wide aperture. Use a longer focal length lens to flatter your subject and avoid distortion. Consider using a reflector or other lighting equipment to enhance your subject's feature. Experiment with different angles and perspectives to find the most flattering view of your subject. Use a hair or backlight to separate your subject from the background and add depth to your image. Macro photos. Macro photos are tiny details captured and make them larger in life. Use a macro lens like a champ. Now in these photos you can see that these flowers are very small in nature, but they have been enhanced and zoomed as if they are very large in the life. And we can see the very fine droplet particles very clearly. Use manual focus to fine tune your focus on your subject and ensure that it's sharp. Use a small aperture to increase your depth of the field. Use a tripod or other stabilizing devices to keep your camera steady and avoid blur. Consider using a macro lens or extension tubes to get closer to your subject. That's all for this video. Thank you.